Most people think interest just adds a percentage to what you owe or what you save. A flat fee for using someone else's money, but that's not what's happening. There are actually two different machines running in the background, and only one of them stops when you expect it to. The difference isn't about better or worse rates. It's about whether interest gets calculated once and sits still or whether it feeds back into itself and starts compounding. One system treats your balance like a fixed number. The other treats it like a growing base that resets every cycle. And institutions know exactly which one they're using, even when borrowers and savers don't. Let's start with simple interest, because it works the way most people assume all interest works. You borrow $1,000 at 5% annual simple interest for 3 years. The lender calculates 5% of that original $1,000 once per year. That's $50. After 3 years, you owe the original $1,000 plus $150 in interest. The key thing here is that the interest is always calculated on the same number. The principal, it doesn't change. Year 1, 5% of $1,000. Year 2, 5% of $1,000. Year 3, still 5% of $1,000. The base stays frozen. This system benefits the borrower in the long run, which is exactly why it's rare. You'll see it in certain car loans, short-term personal loans, or promotional financing. It's predictable. You can calculate the total cost upfront, and it won't change unless you miss payments. But most loans don't work this way. And most savings accounts definitely don't work this way, because there's a more profitable design. Compound interest doesn't calculate interest on a fixed number. It calculates interest on the current balance, which includes all the interest that's already been added. Same scenario, $1,000 at 5% annual interest, compounding once a year for 3 years. Year 1, you owe 5% on $1,000. That's $50. New balance, $1,050. Year 2, you owe 5% on $1,050. That's $52.50. New balance, $1,102.50. Year 3, you owe 5% on $1,102.50. That's about $55.13. Final balance, $1,157.63. You just paid $7.63 more than you would have under simple interest. And that's with a small amount over a short period. The gap widens dramatically over time because the system treats yesterday's interest as today's principal. This is why compound interest is sometimes called interest on interest. It's recursive, it builds on itself. The longer it runs, the faster it grows, because the base keeps expanding. Here's where it gets more aggressive. Compounding doesn't just happen annually. It can happen monthly, daily, even continuously. Let's take that same $1,000 at 5% over 3 years, but now it compounds monthly instead of yearly. Every month, the system calculates 5% divided by 12 on your current balance, then adds that to the principal for next month's calculation. After 3 years, you don't owe $1,157.63. You owe about $1,161.47. The difference between annual and monthly compounding is small here, but it scales. On a $200,000 mortgage at 6% over 30 years, the difference between annual and monthly compounding adds tens of thousands of dollars to what you pay. The shorter the compounding period, the more cycles the system has to feed interest back into the base. And the lender controls that setting. So why does compound interest dominate? From the lender's perspective, it's a better return on capital. Money lent today generates interest tomorrow, and that interest immediately becomes productive capital that can generate more interest the day after. It's a reinvestment loop built into the contract. For the borrower, it means debt grows faster than expected if left untouched. For the saver, it means their balance grows faster than a simple percentage would suggest, which is why every savings account and investment account you've ever seen advertises compound interest. It's not a scam, it's a structural choice. Compound interest rewards the entity that holds the growing balance, whether that's a bank holding your debt or you holding a savings account. The design favors whoever is on the receiving end of the interest flow. That's why credit cards, mortgage, student loans, and almost every consumer debt product uses compound interest. And that's why financial advisors tell you to start investing early. because the compounding works in your favor when you re the one earning it. This is why minimum payments on credit cards barely touch the principal. You're paying interest on a balance that includes last month's unpaid interest. The debt doesn't shrink as fast as it grew because the system isn't symmetrical. It's also why invest early isn't just motivational advice. A 25-year-old who invests $5,000 and lets it compound at 7% annually for 40 years ends up with about $75,000. A 35-year-old who invests the same amount for 30 years ends up with around $38,000. Same contribution, half the result, because they lost 10 compounding cycles. The time factor matters more than the amount in a compounding system. That's not intuitive, but it's mathematical. And this is why paying off high-interest debt early has such an outsized impact. You're not just reducing what you owe, you're cutting off the compounding cycle before it can feed on itself. Every dollar you pay above the minimum stops that dollar from becoming $1.05, then $1.10, then $1.16. In a simple interest system, both sides can predict the cost. The lender knows their return. The borrower knows their obligation. There's no exponential growth, no runaway effect. In a compound interest system, the math favors patience on one side and punishes delay on the other. If you're earning compound interest, time is your ally. If you're paying it, time works against you and faster than most people expect. This is why credit card companies don't mind if you pay the minimum. They're not hoping you default. They're hoping you stay in the system long enough for compounding to do its work. The longer you carry a balance, the more interest you pay on interest you've already paid. And this is why retirement accounts and index funds are built around decades-long horizons. The system needs time to make compounding visible. In year 5, the growth looks modest. In year 25, it looks exponential. But the formula hasn't changed, only the number of cycles. Once you see this, you stop thinking about interest as a flat cost and start seeing it as a process with momentum. Simple interest is a one-time calculation that repeats. Compound interest is a feedback loop that accelerates. The difference isn't just mathematical. It changes how you think about time. A loan isn't just money you owe. It's a machine that's running in the background, whether you're paying attention or not. A savings account isn't just a place to store cash. It's a position inside a compounding system that rewards you for staying still. This isn't about being smart or disciplined with money. It's about recognizing which system you're inside and how it's designed to move. Because the interest doesn't care what you intended. It only counts what the terms say and how much time has passed.